I always loved talking with my grandpa. He really listened. And with all his education and wisdom, he really made me think. I attended church growing up, but I've had questions and growing doubts about Christianity. Well, I remember one day when I shared some questions with Grandpa, and I asked him, "Why do you still believe?" His response was not what I expected. He said, "I'm glad you're dealing with some doubts."
It shows you're looking for what's true. I encourage you, ask tough questions about your faith. Just be sure to compare the alternatives just as carefully. For instance, everybody wants meaning in life. Without God, we can create some meaning from pleasures, achievements, or relationships. But created meaning rises and falls, and there's no lasting point to it all. However, with God, meaning is discovered, a deeper meaning that circumstances cannot change and even death cannot destroy. And that brings up mortality, something I think about more these days. We're all going to die, and we don't know when. But I have a stable hope that this is not a fairy tale wish. You see, my hope is based on the actual resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. If that's not true, then it's all worthless. But if it is true, and I believe it is, then everything is different, now and forever. Without God, what lasting hope is there?
Grandpa also talked about morality.
I'm sure that you and your friends want everybody to be treated rightly and with respect, no matter who they are. Well, with God, we have the necessary foundation for morality and human rights. These obligations are objective moral principles from God that apply to everyone. They cannot be based on unpredictable people with their own agenda. Without God, the foundations for morality will inevitably crumble.
Later, I checked out what Grandpa said about meaning and morality. One atheist bluntly said about life, "There's no point to it all. It wouldn't matter if you had never existed." And another atheist wrote, "Human life is without ultimate moral value." So I wondered, what is meaning or morality without God? Another time I asked Grandpa about science and his belief in God. What he said impressed me.
Think about the existence of matter. Almost all scientists now believe that the universe had a beginning, and they acknowledge that the universe has many physical constants that must be inconceivably precise to make life possible. How do we explain that? Without God, some claim that the universe simply popped into existence by itself. But how is that claim scientific? It even seems to violate what we know about cause and effect. In principle, I have no problem with a Big Bang, but that does not oppose creation by God. Maybe that's the way science describes what the Bible affirms.
I also asked Grandpa about evolution, but he said, not so fast. It's more important to consider how we got life in the first place.
Every cell in every living thing has DNA with enormous amounts of information. DNA gives instructions for amino acids to form every protein for every part of every living organism. But where did that information come from? Mere matter? It's been shown that one little droplet of DNA could actually store 215 million gigabytes of information. It would take over 1.6 million iPhones like mine to hold that much information. I calculated it on my iPhone.
Well, even when he was old, Grandpa always tried to stay up to date with technology. And then Grandpa said something else that just blew my mind. Living matter.
The mere chance of life starting from non-living stuff is astronomically tiny. Fred Hoyle, a famous scientist who didn't believe in God, put the chance of life starting on Earth as low as 1 in 10 to the 40,000th power. That figure is amazing, since the total number of atoms in the entire visible universe is only about 10 to the 80th power. You can Google that one. We can quibble over Hoyle's estimates, but even the atheist Francis Crick, who discovered the structure of DNA, called the origin of life almost a miracle. I believe it was a miracle.
Well, even with all Grandpa said about God, I still wanted to know why he believed in Christianity. He summed it up in one word:
Messiah. God Himself came to us in the promised person of Jesus, the Messiah. God is not just some cosmic energy or impersonal force. God became flesh, loved us, and lived among us. The Bible describes Jesus as the image of the invisible God. Something like an icon on your phone. You can click on the Jesus icon and it will open up to God. For me, Messiah represents all that God has done and is doing in human history and in my own life.
I'll never forget our conversations. Grandpa had such conviction that Christianity makes the most sense out of everything in life, and it offers the best way of life. But one thing really stuck with me. Grandpa said, "It's good to ask tough questions about Christianity, but be sure to compare the alternatives." I'm beginning to see why that's so important. If I walk away, where will I go? And what will I get?